Assalamu alaikum. You can see I have 5 books on my hands. So these books are written by none other than one of the most prominent figures of today's time, Pinaki Bhattacharya. So in today's video, I will discuss about these books and I will suggest you if you should read this book or not. It depends on you, but I will share my opinion. So first thing first, this book Sharinata Uttor Bangladesh, which if I translate, it will be post-independent Bangladesh. So if you read this book, you will get to know what had happened after the liberation war. So, for example, when we talk about the history of Liberation War Bangladesh, we only talk about from 26 March to 16 December. At best, we talk the things that led to these incidents of this Liberation War, but we do not usually talk about what happened after the Liberation War. So, if you read this book, you will get to know lots of details that at times will struck you with awe, and at sometimes it will shock you that we do not know all these things. So either it has been or it has been kept hidden to us, or maybe we are too negligent to our history that we do not read these things. So I think that we should be grateful to Pinaki Bhattacharya sir that he wrote this book. Yes, you can call it that it has been written from a biased perspective, but that's your call. Okay, you can read this and you can come to a judgment that if you should read it or not. But if you ask me, I would suggest that you should read this book to know more about the history of Bangladesh. So there is second book which is Muktijuddho Dharma Rajniti. So if I translate this, then it will be Liberation War, Religion and Politics. Of course, it is related to Bangladesh. If I compare, among all these books, it will be my least favorite, so I'll not talk more about it. Yes, there are lots of writings of, especially the essays of Pinaki Bhattacharya about contemporary political issues and religious issues and liberation war related topics. So you can read this book. But now, the book that I'm holding is one of my favorites, which is Itihasher Dhulakali. It is really tough for me to translate the, title. Anyway, this book also talk about history. So the books you can already assume that are written on the history of Bangladesh and the things, the story that relates to Bangladesh. So when you will read this book, you will understand there are lots of narratives that are mostly Islamophobic. So if you read this, you will get to understand that why Titumir is really special to us and why he is so acclaimed to the Muslim community and the community who really read history. So there are lots of things that you can find which is really not mainstream in the historical narrative that we usually read. So I will strongly recommend this. And there is another book which is Markin Document Bangladesh 71. So the information that we can get from the marking documents that is related to our liberation war of 1971 is, in a nutshell, is here. So when you will read this, you will get to know what were the perspective of the Americans or the American governments during 1917 liberation war. So that is also a great book, I believe. It will help you to understand the world politics and how these things evolved or revolved when the liberation was happening. So the world is not really simple. It's not just about Bangladesh and Pakistan or Bangladesh and for India or India and Pakistan. It is also broader. It is. I can extend it to the then Soviet Russia and also the American. This is that book. And the last book is Muqtida Boy in Islam. So we can get to know the narrative of Islam through this liberation war. So when we read the history of our liberation war, we see that the historians or the mainstream historians antagonize Islam. Yes, we accept and we, admit that the Pakistani army did heinous job and we do not justify their acts. But it is a big crime for the mainstream historians who hijack the history and try to antagonize Islam to satisfy their mind. So, through reading this or by reading this book, you will get to know that there is no, you cannot blame Islam for the crimes of the Pakistanis. So, these are the things or these are the books that you can read or you may read about of Pinaki Bhattacharya. I'm not saying that these are the world class book and this is the best history books of all time. I will never say that. I will just say that if you read this book, you will get to know different perspectives, and at the same time, you will be amazed to know that history is not that simple. Okay, so I hope you will read these books, and also I would like to hear your words from of words of admiration, words of criticism, so that I can improve these things I'm talking about. Anyway, have a great time. Allah Hafiz. Salam.